Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for listening in to this podcast, Adventures of the Awakened Heart. My name is Julie Tara, and I'll be your host today, and you can learn more about me in the links below. The reason for this podcast is that I felt in my own heart that at this very unusual time, we are struggling and we're really needing to look within deeply and to be inspired by people's journeys, the hero's journey, and their quest for the heart energy and keeping the heart open no matter what. So it inspired me to start this. I hope you really enjoy it. And today I'm really super excited to have a dear, dear friend of mine, Gill Orsman, with me, and we're going to have an amazing talk. Let me tell you a little bit about Gill first off. Gill Orsman, a creative visionary and spiritual entrepreneur, has spent most of her life as a holistic photographer. She has gained international recognition in this field, initially becoming well known as a unique specialist in flower photography. Her work since 2009 has been specializing in capturing orbs in her photographs and running workshops teaching others how to do the same. Her YouTube video, Orbs of Love, Peace, and Wisdom, is not to be missed. It's really special. So make sure you go to the link below to find that. Gill was recently chosen to be one of 12 unique women featured in the book Extraordinary Women, Inspirational Women Reveal Their Journeys to Success. So I'll put out a link to her book below and to her YouTube channel and her website. So please subscribe. And I am thrilled, Gill. Thank you so much for being here. So pleasure.
Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so super excited to have a chat to you today because we've got lots of things in common, as we know. We love our particular conversations.
We have the best conversations ever. I have to say, I really look forward to every single time we talk. And you're all the way over in England and I'm all the way over here in America, even though I'm English. So, but we have that sort of English common denominator as well. And our love for so much of the mysteries and the knights and the goddesses and you name it, we love it.
We certainly do. I know, I just love our conversations. It's just so wonderful. You know, when you've got somebody on the same page as you can just talk without even thinking about it and it just flows.
It does. You're a very magical being. I'm very grateful for you in my life.
Oh, bless you. So
let's start a little bit with Gaia and being part of the Gaia community. Because I know you love Gaia as I do, I'd like to ask, what is the most impactful part and aspect of Gaia for you on your journey?
Well, Gaia is fairly new to me in relation to being a member. I mean, I only really signed up for them last year, even though I've been aware of Gaia for many years. But I think once you're ready to really engage, there's always a time and a place for that. And it definitely was last year for me when I joined. And I just got completely addicted. It's like binging on box sets, isn't it? And, you know, the amount of content on there just blew me away. And I felt like I was in a sweetie shop. I didn't know what to choose first. I've got some real areas that I honed into to begin with. And I just lapped it all up. I mean, some of the series, you know, I just had to literally watch the whole series in 2 or 3 days, you know, going into the night, which was great because it kind of served me on some level there. It's astonishing, you know, the amount of different content that's available now. And that's what I love about Gaia.
What has been your favorite? Because I know I've called you and you're like, I'm in the middle of watching Gaia. You know, what have you found specifically that's ignited you?
I came across Michael Tellinger and Hidden Origins. That was incredible. If nobody's seen that, just, you know, please go and have a look at that, because it just made so much sense, you know, just the way that he put it all together. And you know, going back to the beginning of time, really, you know, with everybody that came here and created the civilizations to begin with, and there's so much evidence that he's come across, you know, and I love the way that he just puts things together the ideas and strings the theories together, and it's like, wow, you would never ever, you know, think about something like that. So so that's one of the things I really, really enjoyed. I love stuff about hidden symbols, anything like that. I'm a bit of a decoder, so I definitely work with that in my own life, and I found all of those really astonishing. Just, you know, this unknown sort of ancient languages, you know, that comes to light, and it really gets the mind sort of sparking and thinking about different things. Stefano's
Matthias
all the stuff
Stefano,
about,
yeah.
yes, that was just incredible. I just the fact that he was channeling, wasn't he, going through just recalling, you know, past lives and just reliving it as he was channeling it through. And I thought so much of that just really made sense to me. So
you know what I love, Gill, is that you've really you've sparked me with some things that I hadn't seen before on Gaia when you've shared things with me, and I sparked things with you, and I really love that about the Gaia community, that we can sort of be Sherpas for each other, if you will, and say, gosh, I just discovered this. Have you heard this, or have you seen this? And so thank you for that, because you've been a great guide for me as well. So
oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, there's things on there I just think, oh, surely Julie's seen this, and then I find out you haven't seen them.
well,
And
there's
it's like,
8,000 plus videos and
I know.
documentaries.
There's
It's like a little bit overwhelming sometimes.
yeah,
And,
there's
you know, of course,
only
we
so
all have
many
our own
hours,
threads.
only so many hours in the day, isn't there?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to you, because this is all for you and about you and for other Gaia members to know about you. So how long would you say you've been on your spiritual journey? When did this begin?
Oh, that's a very specific time for me. My journey started when I was 18, and I remember it really clearly. I was on a plane flying to California, and I was reading the book Out on a Limb by Shirley MacLaine. And for me, that was like what I call my trapdoor moment, because it was just, you know, I've been living in my own world with my own ideas and thoughts and feelings up until that book, really. And, you know, reading her story and realizing that this was all real for her. This is not fiction. This is fact, you know, that she actually experienced everything that she was writing about, just opened me up to all sorts of new concepts that I just couldn't get enough of. So I felt like I was a sponge after that. And people that appeared in the book, somebody called Chris Griscom, who runs the Light Institute in Galileo, you know, I really went off in that direction, and I wanted to know everything about that woman. And you know, she was doing some magnificent work back then. And so I just really remember that was my moment, that I started just opening up and just looking for any type of content that would satisfy me.
You know, I totally forgot about that book, but I have to say, I read that book probably around the same time and got completely transfixed by it, you know, and reading other books on sort of the way of the light worker and creative visualization, Shakti Gawain, those kind of books at that time. So yeah, it's a good reminder, because she really was a forerunner and very brave, I think, very creative, you know, creative, but really courageous in her willingness to put that out there as such a, you know, she was already a famous actor in the Hollywood world.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I know. I just absolutely love her, and she's just everything that she's done, actress wise. You know, I've loved the films that she's been in. So yeah, that's a big one for me.
So thanks for that reminder. I love it. So, so let's talk about this idea, this concept. Is it an idea? Is it a concept? Is it a reality? This awakened heart. What does this mean to you?
Well, I think it's when you realize that something is taking an effect on you, and you're becoming different in a way where you're acting differently, you're thinking differently, and sometimes it's not obvious to see what that moment was that ignited the heart and opened the heart up. But I feel I've been very conscious with a lot of things that have happened in my life, and again, especially from that time and onwards. I mean, I would say that I've been, I'm quite psychic. I'm very conscious, consciously aware, very early on of messages that was coming to me, and I couldn't understand what they were. But I realized, as I've looked back over my life, it's like, oh, it was like guidance, and just crazy stuff. I mean, I'd get messages through car number plates, and a lot of because I'm very visual and worked with photography, imagery is very much how I feel that spirit informs me, and just kind of opens my conscious awareness up. So it's just my particular journey is I find really fascinating, and that's why I love talking to other people and say, what happens to you? How do you kind of wake up to different things? How are you being informed?
I love that, because what I hear you saying in that is that you're highly clairvoyant, that the clairvoyancy is really key. And some people are clairaudient, where they hear more, and others are more clairsentient, where they feel things more. But your gift, your channel, your opening, and it makes so much sense, being a photographer, that it would be clairvoyant. So I really love that. So let's look at stories. Can you share a life story of a transformational experience, where you feel your heart really did, I loved you said the word ignite, ignite, where it awakened, where it opened, maybe where it was closed before, because all of us have this opening, closing, like breath of the heart, and I think the idea is we want to keep it open no matter what, but it's not always easy, clearly, to do that.
Yeah. For sure. Well, I'd love to share a story in relation to my photography with photographing the orbs, because it is a remarkable story, and it definitely was a moment of heart opening, one I've never ever experienced before from that day. And I've been a photographer all my life, working in the commercial sector, and the whole orb journey for me, the way it's opened up, has been very, very challenging to me in one respect, because I've come from the scientific, knowing my craft, and then there's this particular subject matter that is hugely questioned even today now. I mean, so many more people know about orbs and have heard about orbs, and for me, in a commercial field, for the want of being ridiculed, in my industry. And so I've gone off in my own world and just explored it, just on my own. And but on this particular day, I was with
Jill, one sec. Before you go into this story, I want to ask you, can you tell our listeners what an orb is? What does this mean when you photograph orbs?
Well, okay. So back in 2009, I was photographed next to my work, and this sphere of light appeared next to me on the picture. And it's very rare for you to see me in front of the camera, because I'm normally behind it. So this was quite a big thing for me anyway, to see a picture of me next to my work with this sphere of light. And I just was so curious about that. And that led me to finding out as much about orbs as I could, and there really wasn't that much information back then. But for me, it's so it showed up as a sphere of light, and it had like a beautiful aura around the outside, and that then led me on to finding somebody called Diana Cooper that works with angels and orbs. And that's when I went to a talk of hers back in 2009 and learned so much more about orbs. And it's really from that day onwards that I started to really consciously photograph them. And it didn't happen for me to begin with. I just thought I'd just go out and do it. But it wasn't that. It's really about aligning to the understanding that there is something else there, something that we can't see in an everyday world. And with the advent of digital cameras, it now enables us to be able to see into that unknown realm, through the benefit of infrared sensors on the cameras. So that's really why, you know, in combination with that and flashlights, things are starting to show up. So that's really, which again ignited me on my journey, because I was just so curious, so fascinated, and it's kind of propelled me, you know, on literally out on a limb, you know, because it's taken me away from my current world of commercial photography, just to explore this. So it kind of has been quite consuming, and so this particular story I wanted to share was, I was with a friend. We went to Harry Edwards Healing Centre in Sheer on this particular day, and it was an open day. And we were coming back. We went for a lunch, sat out on the deck at the base of this very, very steep hill. And this was back in 2012. And in 2012, England was holding the Olympic Games in the UK. And we were sitting outside. I looked up to the top of the hill, and there was the Olympic rings, the 5 white rings on the top of the hill. And I thought, they must be enormous, because the people stood next to them looked like ants. And I said, we've got to go there. We've got to go up there and see that. So we finished lunch, we got in the car, we went up, we found the area. We parked up in this little bit of forest, and we came out and we found the rings, and it was amazing. I mean, it's like they were the size of like 2-story house. So it was very buzzy. The energy around the area was just quite excited. And also it was the area that was designated for the cycle track in the Olympics. So the whole area had been cautioned off, and that was going to be like the main cycle sort of event that was going to happen in the Olympics. So it's very exciting for people to actually visit the area. So we were there till dusk, and of course, when it's dusk, that's kind of like my orb time, right? So I just get the camera out, because I could feel the energy around us, and I started to take some pictures, and you know, a few things just started to show up, and it's now getting darker, and I decide that right, I think we better wrap it up there. We better go back to the car. So by now it's kind of almost dark. And it's just my friend Annie and I call her Angel Annie, because she's very connected with angel energy and stuff. And we go through this adventure playground, and we come to this really unusual building with all of these logos and writing on the side of the wall, beautiful green brick wall. And I just saw it as a photographer. I'm looking at it like this, you know, and just sort of framing it up and composition. And I started to take some pictures of it. And then I said to Annie, I said, oh, do you know what? I'd love to do a shot with this bit of the wall, the roof, the sky. I said, wouldn't it be amazing if we could like maybe get some energies to come in and just like, you know, like play with us? And we went like, oh, we suddenly went really quiet and quite tingly. And then I said, look, let's do this. Let's really set the intention to connect to them and just see what happens. So we did. And I'd never done this before. And so basically we took it on really seriously. I really felt something. Annie felt something. I can't quite, it was like a tingling in the heart, actually. And then I just got the camera out, and then because I kind of set the shot up, and then there they were. They appeared in exactly the place that I wanted them to appear, which was in the night sky above the roof. And it was an amazing moment. It really was a heart awakening moment. And it's a story I'll never forget. And, you know, whenever I mention it to my friend Annie, she nearly burst into tears, because she felt you know, for her, it was such a big moment. She'll never, ever forget that experience. And for me, it was the first time that I wasn't really on my own with it. And that was what was really interesting, that someone else was experiencing something that I was experiencing, and that it had affected her so much. That kind of led me on to start thinking in a different way of how this work could really affect people, how this work could have maybe wake people up. And I'm just driven by the curiosity of it all. You know, the fact that it's still an unknown, and so many people just think it's, you know, it's dust, or it's you know, lens flare or whatever. And it's like, I know all of that because I've been doing photography for over 30 years. So when I look at a picture, I know whether it is an orb or if it's dust or lens flare or whatever. So it's just fascinating for me.
This is an amazing story, because my sense of it as you tell it is that you had this discovery that was a very private discovery, that you knew about these orbs and then that you were starting to invite them and then they were showing up. But that this was sort of the first time you'd really maybe come out of the spiritual closet, shall we say, and shared it with someone else. And then they were like, oh, wow, it really is real. And whether they're angels or elementals or, you know, their spirit. And as you were speaking about it, I was thinking suddenly of Stephen Greer's film that he did, you know, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which I watched recently. And they're talking about sitting in the circle and inviting these beings, and they show up, and there's photographs of them too. And a lot of them, it's the orbs, you know, you see these circular, gorgeous orbs. And it's something very moving about that, because it's so inexplicable. And you know, I used to do a lot of nature photography, and I don't think I've ever told you this, but when I would get the photos back, I would see beings in them, but not orbs, but like little owl beings and fairy beings would show up in the photos of a flower or a piece of a bark of a tree. And I'd be like, I never saw that when I took the photograph. But now that, you know, I got the photograph back, at that time I was developing and printing myself, and I would see them and it would blow my mind. I'd be like, you were there all the time saying hello, but I didn't realize.
Yeah, no, that's what's so beautiful when you enter into a conscious space, you know, and like for me, I always set the intention now, you know, to go into that. And so, but you know, you saying earlier that I was clairvoyant. I'm more clairsentient, I think, because I definitely sense things more than maybe see things, even though I'm informed in a different way with my guidance, which is kind of quite kooky, really. But it's interesting with the orbs, because now, since I've been photographing for so long, over the last 10 years, you know, I've now identified that I have two orbs around me all the time, and I have photographed them more than on many occasions. And when people, you know, I've got a very strange portfolio of images now, and you know, when people flick through my book and they say, oh, and they can see it, it's like, oh, that's your orb, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it is, because it's like a fingerprint. Once you've seen it, it's like, oh yeah, I recognize that, you know. So I've got, yeah, so it is. So I feel, so that's the wonderful thing, is that I know that I'm not alone, and that they're with me all the time, you know. And I've captured several pictures where they're both in that image at the same time, and they're both very, very different. So one's very much an angelic presence, and it's interesting because I was on a Greek retreat many years ago in Skiros. It was a yoga retreat, but it was more really about the soul's journey and what actually happens to you when you're born. And I was told then that, you know, we are assigned two guides will be with us throughout our life. One is angelic, and one is maybe a reincarnation of you know, a human being. And when I heard that, it was like, I know exactly which one's which, because one definitely has got an angelic presence to it. It shows up like pure white. It's got the most amazing energy. It's very mischievous, actually, and a bit Tinkerbell, you know. And it's got sort of like a beautiful electric blue and gold aura around it. And then the other one is very, very different. And I get a sense that it feels like a wise old man, sort of like a male energy. And on two separate occasions, two separate people said they think that orb is my father. And I just love that. And I just think, well, whether it is or whether it isn't, it's like, I'm going to take that, you know. And I just thought, well, because it's a really beautiful feeling to know that, you know, that's still with me. And from time to time, if I haven't been out shooting for a while, and I pick the camera up and it shows up again, I think, oh, thank goodness you're still there, you know, because it's like, it hasn't left me. So it's a really beautiful feeling.
I love that. I know that you and I have talked about our fathers, and we both have a real deep connection. And my dad has shown up so many times since he passed on that it was just irrefutable. It was like, clearly you're here, you know. So I know how that is, not so much from the orb standpoint, but you know, that presence and knowing that's my dad, no questions. And people don't know, but you and I work together in another business, Nikan, and I've always been told my father would stand there as a doctor. He was a doctor, you know, whilst I was teaching about alternative healing, and just kind of like supporting that message coming forward, because he really had a turnaround with Nikan. Just to say about dads, you know, it's so powerful to have that mantle of power that's passed on from the father to the daughter or son, you know, and feel their presence, just, you know, encouraging you to move forward. And I think you've been very brave with this work, like you say, as being internationally known as a professional photographer, and then going into this whole new, you know, frontier of photography with Orbs. That takes a lot of courage. So you're kind of like the Shirley MacLaine with Out on a Limb. She's in the movie industry, you're in the photographic industry, and you know, you're doing it. I think you might have another story. Do you want to share another story?
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's still in the theme of the orbs, but energies and stuff. But so back in 2014, I found out that the Tower of London were going to put on this incredible show of poppies in the moat, and it was basically to signify 100 years of the World War I from 1914 to 2014. And I heard about this incredible event that they were going to put on. And immediately what came to mind was, I need to be there at night in the moat, photographing the poppies if I can, if there's any way I can get permission. So I kind of set out on that journey to see if it was going to be possible, because I thought this is a 1 in a million chance. I thought every single one of those poppies represented a soldier that had died. Just incredible, you know, to think that what was the energy going to be like, you know, and then building up to Remembrance Sunday on that year of 100 years was going to be phenomenal. I just knew it was going to be something else. So I did as much as I could, and unfortunately I could not get the permission to be down in the moat, because it was just too tied up with security and the royal family and everything. And so anyway, I had to kind of just let that one go. But of course I went, and I went about 2 or 3 times. I went up late afternoon, so it was going into the evening, because obviously from daylight to evening, and the way they'd lit the moat with everything, it was just incredible. And the amount of people that came, you know, to actually view it. So, you know, just walking around the perimeter several times, just seeing it from all different angles, was just a wonderful experience for me, because it was building on something. But then I was literally there at the weekend for Remembrance Sunday with another friend. And, you know, we were there literally at 11 a.m. in the morning, where everything just goes silent. And it was just incredible. It was a real heart-opening moment. And that, like, all of the, you know, the traffic in London just stopped. I mean, it was like scene out of a movie, where they just stopped the movie, like red buses just stopping in the middle of the street. And then it just, you know, this incredible silence just fell all over, you know, around the tower and around London. And it was a massive, massive moment. It was very emotional. And so I feel very blessed that I was actually there and I experienced that. But also that day, we were going to the premiere of a movie that I didn't know anything about at the time. And as we were leaving the site, I was sort of halfway up the road away with the tower behind me, and something stopped, and I just felt I had to turn around and take a picture. So I literally photographed the tower from a distance, and I've captured something quite amazing in the sky. And I really believe I've actually captured that almost descendants of peace energy. It was like this hugely expanded rainbow, very subtle, very, very subtle sort of spectrum. But I really get a sense that that whole area was imbued with that energy, and I've managed to capture it. So that was incredible in itself. So that just kind of finished that bit of experience off. then as I went to walked up to the cinema, we were greeted by these people. It was actually the premiere of The Power of the Heart, Baptiste Paps movie. And again, this is why I wanted to share it, because I know it's now on Gaia. And so I didn't know anything about this movie at all. And there was a couple of people that I knew that were actually there, and I didn't know they were going to be there. So we all kind of filed in and sat down and then started watching the movie. And I was just, oh God, I was absolutely captivated by the movie. It was incredible. It was so powerful. And then the end scene, was like everybody was in tears. And they actually had a Q&A at the end with Baptiste, and they had a couple of the actors, and they did a question and answer at the end on the actual stage. And I, again, I thought, well, I can just feel the energy in here. So I picked up my camera and snap, I got a beautiful orb in the auditorium. And for me, it kind of finished off the whole day for me, because it was just, it just kept going up a notch, the day. I mean, the way it just built and built and built. And then afterwards, we went into the outside, and I met Baptiste, and I gave him my card, because I've got some cards from my Orb website and everything. And we just had a little chat about orbs, and he kind of lit up as soon as I mentioned it. And he said, oh, I love the whole thing about the orbs and everything. I said, oh, maybe you and I should work together one day, and so and really from that moment forward, I bought his book and he signed it and everything, and I treasure that, actually. And from that moment onwards, I just became this ambassador for that movie. And I just wanted to know, well, where is it being shown? Is it, surely it's going to be shown in every cinema all over the world, isn't it? No, apparently not. It's kind of almost one of those, what the Bleak movies and The Secret, where, it had a bit of an underground following. But I definitely, from that day forward, was just telling everybody about that movie. And so I don't think Baptiste even knows that, but I think he's more people have seen that movie due to me and spreading the word than most, that's for sure. So, and I love the fact that it's now on Gaia, the fact that they've got it in their archive.
In fact, it's the #1 film on Gaia. It is the most popular film on Gaia.
Oh, that is fantastic. Oh, that does not surprise me at all.
There's all the series and the Gaia originals and everything, but then there's the films or documentaries, that are brought in, and it is absolutely the #1. And these stories are really powerful. I have to say that as you were speaking, I could feel that escalation of that day, like it was just taking you to another level and another level and another level. And yes. I know Poppy Day, of course, in England, and I always remember as a child the 1 minute of silence, and I'll never forget, and it would be, I always felt a wonderment about it. There was the somberness of the ceremonial aspect of what it was meaning, and what these poppies that we would wear, were really symbolizing. And you shared with me graciously the YouTube video about the tower and the poppies, and I was so touched. I started crying just watching it. I just was like, these tears were just falling, and wow, this is extraordinary, and what a way to commemorate, all these people that had passed on and through defending, our country. So thank you for sharing these stories, and I'm just feeling it so strong. How has this shown up in your life? How has this transformed who you are in the world, and how you relate to others, to the world at large?
Well, I think just the orb journey, which is just an ongoing journey for me, and it feels like I almost haven't even begun it. It's been going on for about 10 years, but I almost still feel like I'm on the precipice of it really expanding and opening up into everything, more than what I can imagine right now. And I think because of that work, I am showing up differently in the world, because it literally is propelling me out there to want to find out more, to discover more, to go out and photograph more, And, I see great things ahead, actually, with me and this work. And I almost feel that I'm some sort of messenger for them. And I think we all hold keys, actually. I think we're all locks and keys for things. But I get a sense for me that I'm a messenger for them. And the fact that I know to work with that energy, and I feel so blessed that they actually do appear, and I can actually photograph them, because I've really had to work for that, actually, because that's a level I felt I've had to really to work at in order to become that person that can actually record them. Because it didn't happen to begin with. I thought I could just go out and photograph them. Of course, nothing happened to begin with. So I feel like I've earned my colours now, and the beautiful thing is, I'm photographing more than just orbs now. I mean, and I was told quite a long time ago that this would just be the beginning. And I've got things like different energies that are showing up. I mean, I was in France several years ago, and I've actually captured a portal on the land that I was staying at, and all sorts of things. So it started with orbs, and this is now expanding into other areas, and that's what has ignited my heart, and that's why I'm showing up differently and want to carry on with this journey so much.
So it feels to me as you're speaking that the more your vibration raises, the more you clear things out and go to a higher level, the more they're willing to show you the next level they want to take you to, is kind of how it sounds to me.
Yes, and also I didn't want to do it on my own anymore. So, I mean, a couple of years ago, I decided that I would start running workshops, teaching people how to photograph orbs. I mean, crazy, right? To think there's nobody in the world that was doing that. So, that was an incredible experience in itself, because, I just had to put this day together. I didn't know what I was doing. I literally had to trust. And it was like having all the ingredients for a cake. And I literally had to run it live on the day. And I think I had 9 people on the first workshop. And I said to them in the morning, I cannot guarantee anything is going to happen. I cannot guarantee any orbs are going to show up. We just had to just run it and see. And by the end of the day, everybody had captured orbs. And it was the most incredible experience for me, because I had to really trust what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just making it up in the moment. I mean, I had a set plan of what I wanted to do, but whether it would work or not, I wasn't sure. But it did work, and this is why I started running workshops, and I'm building on that. Now that's, well, once we get out of the whole situation we're in, where we can get back to some sort of normality, of running workshops and events and things again, I'll start it up again.
It's a good reason for me to come back to England, I will say, to come back and
yes, definitely.
So much fun. I would absolutely love that.
Yeah.
So let's look at our world right now. It's crazy times, and a lot of people are struggling and isolated and lonely and questioning and what the heck's going on, and there's a tremendous level of turbulence, should we say. I would love to ask you, what is your heart vision for the future of our world? What do you see?
Gosh, that's a very big question, isn't it? I get a sense of like all my life, it's almost as if I feel like I've been here for a reason. I've come here for a reason, that I'm on some sort of mission, and and I get a sense that we've now entered that realm where things are massively changing. And to be conscious, in this world at this time, I think that's the only way to go, to wake up to what's really going on around us, and get an understanding, if you can, as to what is your role here. What are we all doing? And I really believe, we've been experiencing the third dimensional world, and we're creating the 5-dimensional world. I mean, I've been told in the past that I'm the bridge between the third and the fifth. And maybe the fact that the work that I'm doing now is about waking people up to the fact that there's so much more here than we really, really know. So, so I think, you know, consciousness is absolutely just growing every day. And since this whole thing with the COVID, it's changed everybody's life, you know, not in one country, all over the world. So everybody's getting an experience of something they've never had before. And I see that as a very positive thing, that that's actually going to wake so many more people up. You know, and hopefully, you know, in lockdowns, lots of people are discovering Gaia as well. So I think that's going to be a plus.
It is absolutely growing, you know, hand over foot. It makes sense, right? People are stuck at home. They get sick of Netflix. They've seen everything they want to see there, and they're looking, and they're really in an inquiring space. So Gaia is really fulfilling a wonderful need right now. And that's, of course, why I'm a Gaia ambassador and passionate about sharing it with the world, because I think the world deserves what they offer, because we are all waking up, and we are bridges, right? You know, I often think of it as like a rainbow bridge. You know, I love the way you say, you know, rainbow bridge to this these other dimensions that have always been there, but haven't really descended fully, or our humanity hasn't evolved enough to be able to really access them. And so there are those in the world, and many of them, of course, are on Gaia, who are bridges. They're really helping people to not be afraid, and to move forward with confidence. There's so much I listen to about the golden age and the dawning of the golden age. And I really believe that is in the heart, that resides in the heart. And then we can bring that out in the way we act, feel, think, speak, you know, love people. Ultimately, I feel like it's all love, that everything that glues it all together, it's love. And that we're coming more and more into that. And if we can help people to not be afraid, I think is a huge thing, to just accessing the heart. And on that note, because we've covered so much ground, you know, what would you suggest for our listeners that you know, what's kind of the one golden nugget that you could bring them, that they can take away and say, well, that I can do or feel or dwell upon?
Yeah, I think the one really valuable one would be for people to really wake up to their intuition. For me, it's just been a handrail, actually, that's guided me. But you know, there's so many experiences I've had now where, you know, we all get that gut feeling, you know, and trying to act on something takes a huge amount of courage. But I believe that if people can just start to really trust their intuition, that's going to lead them to places that will literally be an adventure of the heart. I think that would be the one nugget that I would love, because I so trust my intuition now, and I've had it confirmed several times recently and over the years. And because I know that now, you know, it's like, well, it's such a very subtle nuance, the intuition. It's fleeting. You know, you never think to actually act on that or speak up and say something at the moment that something might enter your head. And I think if people could just really connect with that, that will start to change people's lives enormously. To trusting it, and it comes back to the heart. It's about trusting that heart, and that will lead you the right way.
I love that, Jill, because and one of my favorite quotes is, you know, is just listen to your heart, it knows the way. But
Yes.
because I do really feel that's true. And I think we get these intuitive impulses a lot, but we don't always act on them. I mean, I can speak for myself, you know, and when I haven't acted on it, it doesn't always turn out so great. But when I do, it's like the perfect next step. You know,
Yes.
even if I don't understand the relevance in the moment, it's the perfect next step. And I can look back and say, yeah, that was the perfect next step.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's amazing when it does actually follow through, and you realize it's like, oh, you know, like if you hear people saying, oh, if only I trusted my gut, you know, and it's just that's all I say. Go and trust your gut, because it won't let you down.
Absolutely. I think that's beautiful. I'm so excited about this time with you, and I keep having this feeling that at some point you're going to be on Gaia, being, interviewed on Gaia. I just keep thinking that. I don't know why. It's like she's got to be on Gaia. So I'm hoping that will come
amazing.
to pass.
Yeah.
That's my intuitive hit right now.
Let's create that. We can create anything.
Yes, and you and I are good co-creators too. I think when you find, it's like birds of a feather, right? They're unmistakable. And we've always felt that about each other, that we're birds of a feather, and we can really, I do feel like souls come together to do certain things at certain times. And what you were saying about, the mission, I feel like we're all being activated right now. Like, remember, you came here on this mission, and then you have to find your playmates. Like, who am I supposed to play with on this mission? Because we're not supposed to do it all by ourselves.
No, absolutely. Oh no, I've thought about that with you sometimes, actually, Julie. I've just thought, when I met you that night on the Nikken event, and we had that remarkable conversation at the end, and I remember telling you about the orbs. I'd never even met you, and I'm just coming out with it about the orbs, and you just completely lit up, because you were telling me about you love the elemental kingdom and all of that, and it's like, wow. And that was like trusting my intuition, and I just thought, that lady, there's going to be something for us later on up the line, and even you finding Gaia, I saw that for you several years ago, way before you even did. And I'm just so thrilled that bit of the journey is just connected,
That piece of the puzzles come into place.
Yeah.
So from Gaia to the people and build a community. I am like, it's so in my wheelhouse, right? It's so perfect.
Oh, it's so going to happen. I can just feel it. I think it's like it's already happened, and we're just now witnessing it's being unpacked. So, that's how I see things. It's like, oh, it's already happened. And now this is just the remembering of how that happened. So very exciting. We've got some amazing days ahead of us.
We do. And I know exactly what you mean when you feel like you've seen the whole puzzle, and then now we're playing out the game of the pieces being put in place, but we've already seen the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it. I totally love it. Thank you, Gill, so much for being here and being willing to play with me and to let us know about these really powerful experiences of your life. And I'm hoping that our listeners will be able, and I know they will be able to benefit greatly from your stories and have the courage to follow their own hearts, their own intuition, and act upon it, and not just keep it hidden, but to really, I think this idea of sort of coming out of the spiritual closet is a very real thing. And we're all doing it in our separate steps. Like, oh yes, when I was a little girl, I always heard the voices saying, da, 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 and I never told anybody. I was like, man, I'm not telling anybody in Cambridge, England that I'm hearing voices and I'm 4 years old.
Oh, I love that.
Strange. But so thank you. And, thank you to all of our listeners for listening in to this podcast. And we really encourage you to join the Gaia community. And I will put links below to, of course, to Gill Orsman's beautiful work, to maybe I'll even put the puppies one in there so you can see that. I'll put a link to Gaia and my own info as well, so you can learn more and follow me on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. So I think we're going to complete here, and I feel complete. I hope you feel complete, Gill.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. I've really loved this. Just been amazing just having a chat to you about this and just talking about all the things that we love talking about all the time,
Yes, we do, because we talk about this on our own conversations privately. So this is very cool. Thanks again, and many, many blessings to you on your journey and with the orbs and with everything else you're coming into fruition with. And I'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Blessings. Bye, everyone.
Bye.